In the upcoming NFL draft, there is one quarterback that is your definition of upside. Malik Willis from Liberty is that description to a T. He's the type of guy that can extend plays, keep his eyes down the field while under pressure, and he has the arm talent to make every single throw. However, Willis is in a desperate need of development. He's nowhere near starting in the NFL at this point. In this video, we'll go over his strengths and weaknesses, and I'll show you everything you need to know as he enters the NFL. Before we do that though, if you can do me a huge favor and like and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. So anyways, I mentioned that Willis has a ton of talent and upside. This is shown in every single game I saw. His ability to use his legs and create plays is at the top of this class. I describe Patrick Mahomes as a backyard-style quarterback, and Willis fits in that bunch. He has a very strong arm, he's a very patient scrambler, and he has the speed to hit the hole quickly. If your team struggles to pick up third downs, Willis is going to do that all on his own. He'll literally put the team on his back. He'll find a crease in the offensive line, and he'll juke and jump through various gaps to pick up extra yards. Let's look at a play against Massachusetts that is a perfect example of this. Lining up in shotgun with a wing tight end on the right, Liberty ran play action. They have 3 receivers running routes. The left 2 are going up against off-man coverage, while the solo receiver on the right is facing press. After the snap, 2 defenders get into the backfield. The tight end is late on his blocking assignment on the right, while the left tackle let a pass rusher run right through. Willis has to make a move in order to extend his play. Not only did he avoid the first tackle, but he slipped a second and was able to scramble his way back to the opposite side. He kept his eyes down the field, squared his shoulders for the throw, and he placed the ball into the back of the end zone for the score. This was an excellent play, and even though there was some pretty terrible defense up front, Willis deserves a ton of credit for this one. In the same vein, let's look at another play against Louisiana Monroe. This play shows how great Willis is at using his legs to extend the play and create for his offense. On the 9-yard line, Liberty was in shotgun trips left. With defenders over the top of each receiver, it's a good guess the Warhawks are playing in man coverage. They have a single high safety. Knowing this, Willis starts his reads looking to his left. You have 2 routes that are run very poorly into the same spot. Luckily, Willis still has plenty of time in the pocket. While I would have preferred he dumped the ball to his check down on the right, Willis still made up for it with his legs. He starts to scramble to his left. Finally, number 4 is getting open in the back of the end zone. Willis saw this, he squared his shoulders like he did on the previous play, and he makes a good throw for the score. While that first play against Massachusetts was as clear potential as you get, the issue with not finding the check down on the second play that needs to be emphasized. While Willis clearly has upside, and he showed that with good placement and with legs in every game, his ability to find his check down was lacking. At times, Willis outright refused to find his check down. He'd be in the pocket, nobody would be open down the field, and he'd either throw it away or scramble as opposed to dumping it to a running back. This will have to be cleaned up or he's going to take a lot of sacks in the pros. I can easily see this being a problem. Speaking of sacks, Willis actually did a good job of sensing pressure coming from around the pocket. I was pretty impressed with his pocket awareness. His mechanics and mainly his footwork need to be cleaned up because he's way too willing to break down and scramble, but he has a really good sense for pressure. He knows where it's coming from and he avoids it very well. Outside of his pure running ability, his pocket awareness is actually up there as one of his best traits. Now let me be clear about this point. He still has a ton of work to do in terms of his actual movement in the pocket. For example, he'll jump behind an offensive line that was already getting pushed backwards. What I think he's good at is simply knowing where the free rushers are coming from. He does a good job of identifying ways to escape. Obviously, it doesn't happen all the time, but he more than made up for his terrible offensive line. I mentioned a moment ago that Willis won't throw to his checkdowns. This actually extends to when he wants to run the ball himself. Willis just simply prefers to use his legs as opposed to using his arm. He'll turn down throws just to take the ball himself. Check out this play against the Warhawks. You have a classic flood pattern off of play action. The fade and flat are both covered. Next up, you have the tight end running across the field on a crossing route. When Willis got to the 12-yard line, he has a choice on this one. He can either run forward and keep the ball, or he can throw it to his tight end with the trailing defender. For most quarterbacks, this is an easy decision to throw it. Instead, Willis decided to keep it. While this play isn't bad or anything like that, a throw accomplishes 2 things. First, it protects Willis from getting hit. Too often, Willis will take a shot, and I just worry about his longevity in the NFL. He needs to do a better job of sliding in the future. The second thing that throwing does is that the throw simply could have picked up more yards. A well-placed throw could have gotten 10 yards in the first down. While this scramble did get 7, and I'll never complain about taking a profit, I just don't want to see him resort to scrambling. Yes, he's a dynamic runner, but far too often he'll allow himself to get hit when he had the opportunity for a throw. As I went through his film, the same positives and the same negatives kept coming up in the games I watched. Plays like this one that had clear positives but also had clear negatives. On a 15-play drive that got Liberty all the way down to the 16-yard line, Willis threw this ill-advised interception in the end zone. It was 1st and 10. There's no reason to make this throw. Before the snap, Liberty's in shotgun trips bunch to the right with a solo receiver on the left. Liberty likes using fades and comebacks from the solo receiver on the outside. Meanwhile, you have a sit route coming from the bunch, as well as a seam and jerk combo from the backside. To combat this play design, the Warhawks dropped 8 into coverage. They are running a 3 deep 5 under defense. This coverage does a great job of shutting down underneath throws, and it does a great job protecting against fades and comebacks on the outside. It doesn't, however, protect against seams between the deep third safeties. This means that the seam route on the backside will likely be open. That's what happened here. After the snap, Willis starts to progress through his reads. Willis first checks the solo receiver on the left sideline. He's running a fade and he's covered well. Next, he checks a sit route over the middle of the defense. Like I said earlier, he's covered too. After these two reads, Willis now makes his way to the backside of the play, reading the seam and jerk. Getting to his third and fourth read is actually really good. He gets there really quickly on this one. However, it's at this point where things start to go awry. The seam is open in the back of the end zone, but for some reason Willis didn't pull the trigger. Instead of taking him a really nice touchdown in this play, Willis completely missed it and he decided to scramble outside the pocket. Willis does a good job of breaking tackles as he moves to his right, and he clearly has the strength and improvisational ability to create on the outside. However, the problems are still there. Willis then does the unthinkable. On first down in the red zone, he launches the ball off balance and his pass gets intercepted. This play right here, it pretty much summarizes the roller coaster that is Malik Willis. On the positive side, he goes through his reads and he avoids 2 tackles. On the clear negative side though, he doesn't take the touchdown due to poor anticipation, and he also makes a terrible decision to end the play. Trying too hard to be the hero was something that happened way too often for Willis. It's unfortunately all over his film. Now, to be fair, I don't entirely blame him for resorting to that behavior. It's a symptom of him being the best player on a really bad team. His offensive line was terrible, his wide receivers couldn't win one-on-one, and they also had key drops too. While this is the case, and I give a ton of credit to Willis for making plays despite all these issues, he does make the occasional poor decision. Now, outside of all the things we've talked about so far, the last thing that needs to be said is that he has a tendency to predetermine his reads. What this means is that if he sees the potential for a throw before the snap, he'll stare down that receiver and he'll force the ball even if it's not open. Just like in this play against Ole Miss, where he thinks he has the opportunity for the wheel route after a fake bubble screen, he completely missed the post-snap movement to safety. This is a very easy pick for the defense, and it just points to the fact that Willis needs more time to keep learning. To wrap this up, Malik Willis is one of the most intriguing prospects in the entire NFL draft. When it comes to upside and him having the tools to be successful, Willis has them all. He has a good arm, he has the playmaking ability that teams look for, and I think the issues that I pointed out are all coachable as well. The question, however, is if a team will give him the time to reach that potential. Will they be patient with his development, or will they force him into action before he's ready? Willis won't be ready to start his rookie season. Anybody thinking he's going to have an RG3 or Russell Wilson rookie year, I just can't see that happening. The way I see it is that by year 2 or year 3, that's the earliest we're going to hope to see him be fully ready. Willis is the definition of a project, but he has the crazy amount of upside to justify an early pick. For that reason, I gave Willis a mid-first round grade. His upside and what he has the potential to bring to his future team makes him one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL draft. Well, that's all I have for you in this video. We'll keep looking at quarterbacks on this channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and keep a lookout for those. Thanks again. You can support me directly through my Patreon and link below. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Samuel R. Gold.